I never imagined that the woman I had raised with all my heart would stand in front of 200 wedding guests and introduce me as our old neighbor. I was standing only a few feet away from my own daughter, while she smiled as if humiliating me meant nothing. I could have defended myself. I could have shouted her name, but I stayed silent. Then her groom suddenly stopped the wedding and looked directly at me. His voice became serious as he said that everyone in that room deserved to know who I really was. My daughter froze. The music stopped. 200 people turned toward me. And what happened next changed the entire wedding forever. The wedding hall was filled with flowers, music, and laughter. Almost 200 guests had gathered to celebrate the marriage of my daughter Emily. I had spent months helping her prepare for that day. I paid bills that I could barely afford. I helped choose the decorations. I even stayed awake late at night listening to her worries about the wedding. I thought that after everything we had been through, that day would finally bring us closer. I was wrong. My name is Daniel. I am a widowed father and Emily is my only daughter. After her mother died, Emily became the center of my life. I worked extra hours whenever I could because I wanted her to have opportunities that I never had. She eventually became successful. She moved to another city and built a completely different life. Slowly I noticed that she became embarrassed by our simple background. She stopped introducing me to her friends. When people asked about her family, she would change the subject. Whenever I visited her apartment, she seemed uncomfortable if her wealthy friends were around. Still, I convinced myself that this was only a phase. Then she met Michael. Michael came from a respected family. His parents owned several businesses and their social circle included wealthy professionals and important people. Emily changed even more after meeting him. One evening she called me and said that Michael wanted to meet me. I was nervous but excited. I bought a new shirt because I wanted to make a good impression. When I arrived, Emily opened the door and immediately whispered that I should not talk too much about my past. I asked her why. She simply said that some people might not understand. I should have realized what she meant. At dinner, Michael was polite. He asked about my work and my life. I answered honestly. Emily barely spoke. A few weeks later, the wedding invitations arrived. My name was printed on the invitation as the father of the bride. For the first time in years, I felt proud. I believed my daughter was finally ready to accept me. On the morning of the wedding, I arrived early. I watched Emily walk through the hall in her wedding dress. She looked beautiful. When she saw me, she smiled for only a moment. Then she walked away. I told myself she was nervous. The ceremony began. Everything seemed perfect. The music played. Guests laughed. Michael stood at the front waiting for his bride. Then the wedding host asked Emily to introduce a few important people. Emily took the microphone. She thanked her friends. She thanked Michael's family. Then she looked toward me. I smiled. I thought she was finally going to say something that would make me proud. Instead, she said, "I would also like everyone to meet our old neighbor Daniel." The room became quiet for a second. I could not move. Old neighbor. That was what she called me. Not father. Not dad. Not the man who had raised her. Just our old neighbor. Some guests looked confused. Others smiled politely. I stood there pretending I had not heard her. Emily continued speaking as if nothing unusual had happened. She said that I had known the family for many years and that I had helped them occasionally. Every word felt like another wound. She had erased my entire life from her story. She had turned me into a stranger. I looked at her and wondered what had happened to the little girl who once held my hand while crossing the street. I wanted to tell everyone the truth. I wanted to tell them that I was her father. But I remained silent. I did not want to destroy her wedding. I stepped back and sat down near the side of the room. Then something unexpected happened. Michael had been watching me. At first he looked confused, then he looked at Emily, then he looked back at me. He slowly walked toward the microphone. The music stopped. Everyone became silent. Michael looked directly at Emily and asked her one question. "Why did you introduce him as your old neighbor?" Emily's face changed. She said it was nothing important. Michael did not accept the answer. He asked again, "Who is he really?" Emily tried to laugh. She said that Daniel had simply been around their family for years. Michael looked at me. Then he said something that I will never forget. "Sir, they need to know who you really are." The entire hall became silent. I could hear people whispering. I looked at Michael and told him that I did not want to ruin his wedding. He shook his head. "You are not ruining anything." He turned toward the guests. Then he revealed that he had already learned the truth about me. A few days before the wedding, Michael had accidentally found an old box of photographs and letters in Emily's apartment. Among those photographs was one of Emily as a little girl standing beside me. There were school certificates, medical papers, old birthday cards, and letters from teachers thanking me for always being present for Emily. Michael had asked Emily about them. She had admitted that I was her father, but she had also told him that she did not want his family to know because she was embarrassed by my simple life. Michael was devastated. He had believed Emily was ashamed of her past, but he had never imagined she would erase her own father in front of hundreds of people. Then Michael turned toward me. He said that he had learned something important from those letters. While everyone else was celebrating Emily's success, I had been the person quietly supporting her from the beginning. I had worked extra shifts to pay her school fees. I had sold my old car when she needed money for college. I had stayed beside her when she was sick. I had never asked for recognition. I had only wanted my daughter to be happy. Emily began crying. She tried to explain that she was afraid people would judge her. Michael asked her, "And what did your father ever do to deserve being hidden?" She had no answer. Then Michael did something that shocked everyone. He walked toward me and hugged me. He said, "I am sorry that you were made to feel like a stranger at your own daughter's wedding." The room became emotional. Some guests were crying. Others looked at Emily with disappointment. I finally stood up. I told everyone that I did not hate my daughter. I said that parents sometimes spend their entire lives giving without expecting anything in return. But I also said something that I had never told Emily. Love does not mean allowing someone to erase you. The wedding did not end that night, but it changed. Michael postponed the ceremony for a short time so that he and Emily could have an honest conversation. He did not cancel the marriage immediately. He simply told her that before becoming his wife, she needed to understand what kind of person she wanted to be. Emily came to me later. She was crying. She said she was sorry. For years she had been trying to impress people who never mattered. She had become ashamed of the life that had made her who she was. I told her that I could forgive her, but forgiveness would not erase what happened. Trust would have to be rebuilt. She asked me if I would still stay for the wedding. I looked at her. Then I said yes, not because what she did was acceptable, but because she was still my daughter. Michael eventually returned to the hall. He walked to me and asked if I would stand beside him. This time when Emily was introduced, the host did not call me an old neighbor. He called me the father of the bride. The words were simple, but for me they meant everything. Emily walked toward me. She took my hand, and in front of everyone she said, "Dad, I am sorry I was ashamed of the person who sacrificed everything so I could become the person I am today." I did not know what to say. I simply hugged her. That day taught me something I will never forget. People may become embarrassed by where they came from. They may chase wealth. They may chase status. They may even pretend that the people who helped them never existed. But the truth has a way of standing in the room when you least expect it. And sometimes the person you tried to hide becomes the person everyone respects the most. I left that wedding with tears in my eyes, but my head held high. I had been introduced as an old neighbor, but I walked out knowing exactly who I was. I was a father who had sacrificed everything for his child. I was a man who had been hurt but still chose forgiveness. And most importantly, I learned that your worth does not become smaller just because someone refuses to recognize it. Sometimes silence is not weakness. Sometimes silence gives the truth enough space to speak for itself. If someone ever makes you feel ashamed of who you are or where you came from, remember this story. Never beg anyone to be proud of you. Live honestly and let your actions speak. Because one day the truth may be standing in the same room when everyone finally realizes who you really are.